Welcome to the International Business and Law Academy. I am Ruby, and today we will be talking about Nafta. Nafta is the North American Free Trade Agreement, and we will be discussing the controversial issues that led to the agreement and the expected goals of Canada, United States, and Mexico. The Enterprise for the American Initiative. The Enterprise for the American Initiative, or EAI, was launched in 1990 in order to expand investment and provide some debt relief to countries in Latin America and the Caribbean. This reduces the debt obligations of the Latin American and Caribbean nations, as well as eliminating trade barriers and reducing obstacles to free trade in the Western Hemisphere. And to reiterate, Nafta is the North American Free Trade Agreement, and it encompasses a market of more than 360 million people and a combined output of over 6 trillion USD. Nafta seemed to be a natural starting point for hemispheric integration for several reasons. First, since 1989, the United States and Canada had been partners in a free trade agreement. Second, the Mexican and Canadian economies offered the prospect of immediate opportunities for U.S. businesses since the U.S. already provided over 2/3 of the goods imported into those two nations. Finally, recent political and economic reforms in Mexico made it an inviting environment for U.S. businesses to be interested in expanding trade and investment. Now, let's discuss their reservations and goals. Trinh, what do you think about Canada's reservations and goals?
For Canada, the goals here is, I think Canada may have been the most reluctant participant in the treaty negotiations. Canada is the #1 trading partner of the United States. Its access to the vast U.S. market already was secured under the bilateral Canada-U.S. Free Trade Agreement. In Canada's economic ties with Mexico, it had been negligible. It saw a little advantage to a Canada-Mexico treaty.
And what about Mexico, Anne?
Well, the goals of Mexican leaders envisioned the free trade agreement as a means of attracting large amounts of foreign investments necessary to reverse its international trade deficit. Mexico already was the third largest trading partner of the United States. Thus, their economic links were strong. The prospect of tariff-free entry into the vast U.S. market, coupled with low wage demands of Mexican workers, were certain to attract manufacturers from around the world.
And John, will you tell us about the United States?
Alright, so the United States has 3 goals to get out of this. First, the economic gains in Mexico would strengthen that country's commitment to political and market reform. So this would provide a safer environment for U.S. investments. Second, the gain in standard of living would increase demands for U.S. exports. Third, a strong Mexican economy would help stem the tides against illegal immigrations into the U.S.
However, there are also many reservations from Canada. Certain Canadians' interests may suffer hardship under Nafta. For example, labor-intensive industry are threatened by the combination of Mexico's immense labor pool and low wages. Around an estimation of population over 90 million. Employers in the automobile assembly industry are greatly alarmed over the prospect of mass relocation of the facility to Mexico.
However, there are also many reservations for Mexico. Although many assembly operations will be attracted to the country, those will be the lowest paying unskilled jobs that add little value to the overall economy. Mexico's small and medium-sized firms will be unable to compete with the more efficient U.S. companies that soon will dominate the domestic market. Mexico and Canada share a common concern over the great likelihood that the economy of the United States eventually will overwhelm their unique cultures and political sovereignty.
However, there are many reservations of the United States. Employees in the labor-intensive industry of the U.S. share the Canadian concern that many factories will shift operations to the low-cost Mexican labor market. Cheaper Mexican imports will drive price of fruits and vegetable downwards, cutting into the profits of domestic growth. Environmentalists have strongly criticized the treaty on the ground that there will be a mass migrations of businesses southward and take advantage of Mexico's weak commitment to environmental protection.
And Ms. Wang, what about other countries other than these three?
I think there are also concerns from other countries. Countries outside of the Nafta regions have expressed great concern the free trade agreement, which foster protectionist policies. Central American and Caribbean Asian business have complained they are losing out as foreign investors have rushed to Mexico.
Yes. Thank you for that discussion of the three North American countries. While also pointing out their constraints and reservations, we also get to know about their ambitious goals. And to clarify all of that, let's look at a case study together. Article 304 and the definition of the direct cost of processing or direct cost of assembling. So here are the facts. In response to an advice request from Toyota Motor Sales, the U.S. Customs Services ruled that interest payments on loans used to finance tools and equipment, payroll, and factory inventory did not fall within the direct cost of processing under Article 304 of the Free Trade Agreement. Customs held that this provision was limited to mortgage interest associated with lands and buildings. This narrow interpretation substantially reduced the amounts that Canadian automobile assemblers could designate as North American content for rule of origin purposes. Canada requested a binational panel review of the ruling. So the issue here is, should the binational panel uphold customs interpretation?
I think that all interest payment should be attributed to the North American content. If the producer can demonstrate that they are bona fide or payable on arm's length terms.
Yes, and would you like to add?
Well, connected to a loan that is objectively assignable to the production of goods, it is recommended that the members adopt such regulations and internal administrative procedures that are necessary to implement this determination. I think those are direct costs of processing under the Article 304 of the Free Trade Agreement.
I think in this case, interest payment on loans used to finance tools and equipment's payrolls and factories inventory are confirmed within the direct cost of processing under Article 304 of the Free Trade Agreement.
The question submitted to this panel focuses on the legal forms of the transaction giving rise to the interest obligations. However, it follows from our analysis that the form of the debt should not be a controlling circumstance.
Oh yes, thank you for that. I agree with all of that. And so to reiterate, the issue is, should the binational panel uphold customs interpretation? And the court's rule was that the decision was no. It is clear from the objective and scope of the Free Trade Agreement that the members sought to create a trading agreement whose benefit would accrue primarily but not exclusively to the goods and producers of the members. This would enhance employment and income opportunities primarily but not exclusively for people living within the territories of the member states. In this case, interest payment on loans used to finance tools and equipment, payroll, and factory inventory are conformed within the direct cost of processing under Article 304 of the Free Trade Agreement. Thank you so much, everyone, for this discussion, and thank you to Dr. Sung as well as International Business and Law Academy.